Thanks very much, Lawrence. Thanks to everyone for coming down here today. Obviously, from a personal point of view and on behalf of the club, delighted to introduce Michael as the new manager of Portsmouth Football Club. It's taken us a few weeks to get to this point, so thanks to all our supporters first of all for their patience in that process. We've gone about it in a very deliberate fashion, set out our criteria early on. Michael was on our shortlist from the start and is on our shortlist at the end, and I'm delighted to welcome him here to the club today.
Michael, congratulations on your appointment. How pleasing is it for you to have landed your first job as a senior manager in the Football League?
Yeah, it's obviously very pleasing. It's a fantastic opportunity for myself. Portsmouth are a big football club, got a great tradition. It's championship football for myself for my first job. So I know the task ahead, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm sure everyone at the football club is as well.
I think David described you as a bit of a dark horse during the selection process, but in the end he readily admitted you were a unanimous appointment. Do you see it that way in some ways?
I think you have to. I think obviously a lot of people will probably use the fact that I'm only 35 still, that I haven't managed before, but what a lot of people tend to forget is the people that I've worked under, whether it be a player or a coach. I have actually spent a lot of time coaching. I have actually spent 7 years coaching, and 5 with senior players playing in the Premier League. So people forget them type of things. So I was obviously delighted, and I know going into an interview process with the likes of a club the size of Portsmouth that I'm always going to be a little bit of a dark horse and not one of the favourites. But ultimately, I must have done enough to be given the opportunity.
And of course, most recently you've been working as the assistant head coach with Roy Hodgson at West Brom. I guess some Baggies fans felt you were being groomed for the role when Roy stepped down. How big a bind was it to leave the Hawthorns?
Yeah, it was obviously difficult. I mean, I spent almost 11 years. It would have been 11 years in January at the football club. I remember turning up in 2001 as a player. And then for the reasons obviously everybody knows in terms of the injury, having to go down a different route and go into the coaching side of it. So it was difficult. I worked with a lot of good managers, as I said. Roy gave me the opportunity to work with him as an assistant over the last probably 9 months or so in the Premier League. Thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was that extra step up that I probably needed to come on and take this job that I'm going to do now.
Mindful of the trauma that this football club has been through in recent seasons, how big do you assess the challenge that you're now taking on? Yeah,
I mean it's a big challenge, but I think it's a challenge that the owners and David and everyone else at the football club is willing to take on themselves. I mean, hopefully I'll be a little bit of a driving force behind everything that's already happened. Stuart and Guy obviously took over from the spell when Steve went to Nottingham Forest, and obviously they've done ever so well. And from my point of view, I just want to be able to add to that. And we know and we realise that the troubles the club have had in the past. But I think it's a new challenge and a new chapter for everyone to maybe get the club playing where they were 4 or 5 years ago.
And what was it in particular when David and the owners sold the club to you that impressed you most and persuaded you that this was the job for you?
I think obviously sometimes when jobs come up, there's a lot of times where you need someone who's going to make an immediate impact into the football club. I think the thing that really attracted me to the football club and the owners and David was the fact that they had a plan which they wanted to stick to over a 5-year period, and basically it was to improve the infrastructure of the football club, to finally get hold of a training ground that actually belongs to them, to improve the academy, build on an academy, to set up a recruitment structure where we can produce our own players as well as getting players from all over the place, even the likes of Europe and America and all these type of things. So from my point of view, I seen it as a plan and something that you could really get your teeth stuck into, and ultimately over a 3 or 4 or 5 year period. I think where we need to go, and I think people need to be patient with it.
And just finally from me, for now, Michael, I know you've spoken with high regard for Sir Alex Ferguson, who is approaching 70. He's just celebrated his 25th year in management. You're at the other end of the spectrum. How much of an influence has he been on you? And do you feel the growing breed of young managers have a real place in the game now?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, there's there's a good few managers out there now who are given opportunities at various levels of the Football League, and even in the Premier League now. The average age of the managers is coming down all the time. I think it's good to see that they get that opportunity, because I think what you've got to realise is that there are good people and there are good coaches out there, but not all of them get opportunities. And I think if you surround yourself with good people, the better decisions you make, they will help to make them better for you. And you only got to look at just recently that you're looking in the Premier League, the likes of Brendan Rodgers, and people like that. Obviously when they go in and do well, they obviously help the likes of myself to get opportunities like the one at Portsmouth. And I think it's been mentioned today, it's either 21 or 22 of Sir Alex's ex-players have obviously gone into management now, and I think that says everything about the man himself and the type of players that he produced and what he expected from players.
Thank you very much for that, Michael. Jeremy.
David, you said it was a high-quality field for this job. How many people did you actually interview for it?
I'm not going to give you the exact number. I think we've said it was less than 10 who we put on our initial shortlist. So we saw a good number. Obviously we had a wider field than that to choose from all the people who expressed an interest either directly or indirectly. So from our point of view, I think we felt we had an extremely strong field of candidates to choose from. We were lucky in that respect. I think 18 months ago when I was in this position, perhaps we didn't have quite those choices because of the position the club was in. But no, we're very pleased to have attracted so much interest for the job, and obviously very pleased to have got through that process and found our man.
And was retaining Stuart and Guy part of the deal?
Absolutely, and I think it's important for people to understand that was always a critical factor for us. I think Guy and Stuart have done a fantastic job for us over the last 6 games. Obviously, while they've taken charge of the first team, but actually, their service to the club has been for a longer period than that, and I think they've impressed everyone. They're an integral part of our backroom staff, and we were very clear with our candidates when we were speaking to them that we rated our backroom staff very highly on the coaching side and on the sports performance side across the piece, and that was something we didn't want to change too much. And that was as I say, that was an important factor for us in determining who to bring in, that they fitted in with that structure.
Michael, how do you feel that Guy and Stuart have done, and do you plan to add to them with, say, Dean Kiley's been mentioned coming down as well?
I mean, obviously, Guy and Stuart, like you said, have done fantastic in the short time that obviously they took control of first team affairs, and like David's just said, then I think I was made very well aware from the first meeting that obviously they had a good staff in, and they didn't want to change anything because they felt they could do the job, and I was quite happy with that. I'm quite chilled in terms of who I need to work with. I back myself, all day 100%, and I'm sure that obviously getting to work with Guy and Stuart, they'll see how I work, and hopefully they'll enjoy it, and I'm sure they will, and we'll work well together. But as regards adding other people, I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's about the people who are already in the football club. It's not for me to start saying I want to bring him and this person in and this person in. I'm prepared to work with the people there. And they've been doing a decent job of it so far, so I don't see any reason at the minute to even think of doing that.
And what do you both say to fans who might think this is a bit of a gamble, a rookie manager for a big first job?
Shall I take that one? Listen, obviously that's something that people are going to say, as we said ourselves. I think Michael was a bit of a dark horse on our shortlist, but I think we've already mentioned the fact that I think there is a tendency towards appointing younger, ambitious managers. Michael's somebody who we think matches the ambitions of the football club, and I think we were overwhelmingly impressed with him, not only his footballing pedigree and his coaching pedigree, but also him as an individual through the process. So I understand that people may think it's a bit of a risk, but appointing anyone is a bit of a risk because you never quite know what you're going to get. And I think we've obviously done our homework on Michael, and checked him out personally, and done background checks on him to make sure that we're getting somebody who we think is going to fit in with what we've got and take the football club forward in the right way. So I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, from my point of view, I'm just delighted that David and the club have been prepared to take a chance or a risk, if that's what you want to call it. like I said, for the last 7 years, I've been probably pretty much waiting for this moment. So, you know, I think I like to, you know, done the apprenticeship, so to speak. I've worked at every level that you can from at a football club, from the under-14s all the way up to as assistant manager. And I think it's my time, and hopefully with you know, the right people as we have got here, and a little bit of hard work and a lot of luck, then that'll be the case.
Just finally from me, Southampton are blazing a trail at the top of the table. Can you get Pompey up to join them? Can you get them up this season, you think, Pompey?
I think talking about too far ahead at the minute, I think from my point of view, ultimately, you know, it's one of them where the lads are in a good place at the minute, and I spoke to a few players this morning. Obviously not all of them are there, but they're in a good place because they've had a good period of the season. You know, I think if I can add to little bits to that and continue on the path that they're showing at the minute, it's a type of division that you never know, after 3 or 4 results you could find yourself up there. And if we are up there in around the playoffs after 5, 6, 7, 8 games, that's a question I might be able to answer a little bit more strongly. But at the minute, you know, for me, it's just about getting in the door, trying to do a good job with the people that are around me.